Good morning, you two. So we've got another maths lesson for you today. But before we get into it, we're going to have a go at some fluency. So today's fluency is carrying on from yesterday's, and it's all about counting in threes. So you might remember that yesterday I asked you to try to memorize the first 5 numbers in our counting in threes sequence. So can you remember what they were? Let's have a look and see if you got that right. So I'm going to remove this and we're going to go through just like we did yesterday and work out what numbers are in our threes. So remember, when we count in threes, that means we're skipping to every third number. So starting from 0 then, we would count 3 more, 1, 2, 3, and then we would jump straight from 0 to 3. And then from 3, we'd count 3 more again, 1, 2, 3, and then from 3, we would jump straight to 6. So we've got 0, 3, 6. Could you remember what comes after 6 when we count in threes? That's right, it's 3 more again, so that would take us to 9. So we're going to jump all the way from 6 to 9. So we've got 0, 3, 6, 9, and the last one is the one that comes next that I asked you to remember. Can you remember what we're going to jump to next? That's right, it would be 3 more again, so it would be 12. So jumping from 9 to 12. So the start of that sequence would look like this. 0, 3, 6, 9, 12. Excellent. What I'm going to do is I'm going to cover that up again. And then we're going to practice saying that. So 0, 3, 6, 9, 12. We'll try that one more time. So 3, 2, 1, 0, 3, 6, 9, 12. Let's go again. 0, 3, 6, 9, 12. Let's go backwards from here then. So 12, 9, 6, 3, 0. Let's go forward one more time. 0, 3, 6, 9, 12. Excellent, well done. So from our 12, what would be the next number in our sequence counting in threes? That's right, it would be 3 more again. So then that would be a jump straight to 15. So from 12, we would go to 15. What comes after 15 when I count in threes? Let's count 3 more. 1, 2, 3. Lovely, we would jump straight to 18. And what about 3 more after that? 1, 2, 3. That would take us straight to 21. Super. So then that would look like this. 0, 3, 6, 9, 12, 15, 18, 21. So let's go backwards from here. 21, 18, 15, 12, 9, 6, 3, 0. Lovely. Let's cover up that 12 then. And we'll count from 0 all the way up to 21 in threes. So let's get ready. 3, 2, 1, 0, 3, 6, 9, 12, 15, 18, 21. Super. What we're going to do is we're going to extend this blue box now so it covers up that next number after 12. Can you remember what comes after 12 when we count in threes? That's right, it's 15. Well done. Just to show you there, let's have a count from 0 then. 3, 2, 1, 0, 3, 6, 9, 12, 15, 18, 21. Lovely, I guess you know what's coming next as well. That's right, we're going to extend that blue box one more time to cover up the number that comes after 15. Can you remember what it was? That's right, it's 18. So we're going to count all the way back from 0 in threes. So let's go. 0, 3, 6, 9, 12, 15, 18, 21. Well done. And for the final thing, we're going to cover up that last number as well. So take one last good look at it, and it's gone. So all the way from 0, we're going to count up to 21 in our threes. So 0, 3, 6, 9, 12, 15, 18, 21. Fantastic, well done. It's really tricky to learn counting in your threes, but if you've done it with your 2s and your 5s and your 10s, then I am confident that we're going to be able to do it in our threes as well. So let's do it one more time from 0, looking at the numbers. So 3, 2, 1, 0, 3, 6, 9, 12, 15, 18, 21. Super. So from yesterday, you should have remembered 0, 3, 6, 9, 12. So by tomorrow, I'd like you to remember the next 3 numbers in the sequence as well. That's 15, 18, and 21. So try to keep rehearsing all the way up to 21 to yourself throughout the day. Okay, so for our math lesson today then, we're going to carry on looking at multiplication and equal groups, building on from what we learned yesterday. So today we're going to look at something called repeated addition. Can you say that? Repeated addition. Well done. So let's have a look at what that looks like then. I have got here a picture of some children. And what I'd like you to do is I'd like you to think about what we learned yesterday, all about groups and equal groups. And I'd like you to tell me what you can see. Super. So we might have said something like this. We might have said that we can see that there are 1, 2, 3, 4 equal groups. There are 4 equal groups. And then inside each group, I have got 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2. There are 2 children in each group. So we would say, from what we learned yesterday, that there are 4 groups of 2 children. 4 groups of 2. So if I were to show you that in like a bar model, you would see that we've got 1 group of 2, 2 groups of 2, 3 groups of 2, 4 groups of 2. So what does that 2 represent? Have a think. If you need some more thinking time, you can pause the video. What does this 2 represent? That's right, well done. It represents the 2 children in that group. What does that 2 represent? That's right, it represents the 2 children in that group. Why do I have 4 2s? Why do I have 4 2s? Well done, I've got 4 2s because I've got 4 groups. So what I would say is, instead of saying I've got 4 groups of 2, what I could say instead is I've got 2 and 2 and 2 and 2. And we can write that as an addition like this. I would say that I've got 2 and 2 and 2 and 2. Lovely. So this is what we would call a repeated addition. And you can see, because you already know a lot about addition, that we're using our addition symbols. And it's called repeated addition because it's the same number being repeated again and again. And the reason it's the same number is because all of my groups are equal. So they need to have the same number of children in each group for them to be equal. So that there are 4 equal groups. There are 2 children in each group. There are 4 groups of 2. So we could write that as a repeated addition by writing 2, add 2, add 2, add 2. And you can see that I've got 2 written 4 times because each 2 is representing one of the groups of children. So let's have a look at another example then. What have I got here? How many equal groups do I have? Well done. You can see that I've got 1 group, 2 groups, 3 groups. And inside each group, how many do I have? That's right, I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So I've got 3 groups of 6 cubes. So then what I would say is that I've got 6 and 6 and 6. And we can write that here. I've got 6 and 6 and 6. And if I were to write that as a bar model, you'd be able to see that each box represents a group. So I've got 3 boxes here because I've got 3 groups. And remember, those 3 groups are equal. That means I've got the same number inside each group. So I've got 6 cubes in my first group, 6 cubes in my second group, and 6 cubes in my third group. So now I know that I've got 3 groups of 6, or in other words, we would say we've got 6 and 6 and 6. We can then write that as a repeated addition by replacing our ands with an addition symbol. So instead of saying I've got 6 and 6 and 6, we could write it as 6 plus 6 plus 6. Just have a think for a second. What does this 6 represent? If you need some more thinking time, pause the video. If you're ready to have a look, that's right. The 6 represents that there are 6 cubes in that group. Why do I have 3 6s written? Again, if you need some more thinking time, you can pause the video. If you're ready to hear the answer, the reason we've got 3 6s in our addition is because there are 3 groups up here. So each 6 is representing the 6 counters in one of my groups. Let's have a look here then. So I've got a success criteria that can help me follow this sentence frame. So there are groups of, how many groups do I have? That's right, there are 3 groups. And how much do I have inside each of my groups? Well done, there are 5 litres of liquid inside each group. So we could say that there are 5 and 5 and 5. So we've got 5 and 5 and 5. And I could write that in my bar model by, in each of my 3 groups, I would have 5 representing the 5 litres of liquid inside each group. Now remember, our challenge today is to write that as a repeated addition. So instead of saying 5 and 5 and 5, we could then write 5 plus 5 plus 5. So just have a think, what does each of those 5s represent? That's right, each 5 represents the 5 litres inside each of my groups. And that's why I've got 5 3 times in my repeated addition, because I've got 3 buckets over here. I've got 3 separate groups. So in my repeated addition, I will have 5 and 5 and 5. So I've got a repeated addition here, and what we need to do is we need to use these groups and these suites to show what it is that this is representing. So you can see that we've got 2 plus 2 plus 2. So how many times have I got the number 2 written? That's right, I've got 1, 2, 3. So that means that I've got 3 groups. So I'm going to use these boxes to show that I've got 1, 2, 3. And hide those ones. Lovely. So I've got 2 written 3 times. So this represents one group, this represents one group, and this represents one group. How do I know how many sweets to put inside each group? Well, it's the number that's written there. So I've got my 3 groups represented by each individual number. And then the 2 shows me that I've got, what's the daisy? I've got 2 sweets in each group. So 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2. So that representation would show me that I've got 2 and 2 and 2, which we can see here being represented as a repeated addition, 2 plus 2 plus 2. Now I've got a new repeated addition here. I've got 4 plus 4 plus 4 plus 4. If I were to work backwards on my success criteria, I could say I've got 4 and 4 and 4 and 4. Now the 4 is telling me how many objects are inside my group. But how do I know how many groups to draw? How do I know how many groups to draw? Remember, if you need some thinking time, you can always pause the video. Lovely. I know how many groups I need by looking at how many times my number 4 has been written. So I've got 1 group of 4, 2 groups of 4, 3 groups of 4, 4 groups of 4. That's right. So I might draw that by first of all drawing my 4 groups. 1, 2, 3, and 4. And I know that this represents a group of 4. So I would have 4 objects inside each of my groups. That's 1 group of 4. 2 groups of 4. 3 groups of 4. 4 groups of 4. Well done. Now we've got a decision to make then. We're looking at this representation and we're trying to think, is this showing me 6 plus 6 plus 6? Or is it showing me 3 plus 3 plus 3 plus 3 plus 3 plus 3? Just pause the video and have a think. What is this representation showing you? And then play it again when you're ready to go through the answer. Lovely. So let's have a look then. What do I have following my success criteria? There are groups of So how many groups do I have? I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. That's right, I've got 6 groups. And how many children do I have in each group? That's right, there are 3 children in each group. So I've got 6 groups of 3. So that means I've got 6 groups. So that means whatever number I have to have that written 6 times. So I would say that there are 3 and 3 and 3 and 3 and 3 and 3. So that would mean that it was this one, because this repeated addition has got 1 group of 3, 2 groups of 3, 3 groups of 3, 4 groups of 3, 5 groups of 3, and 6 groups of 3. Remember, however many times that number is written, that shows you how many groups you have. The number that is written shows you how many objects you have inside that group. Let's have a look at this one then. I've got a repeated addition here. 5 plus 5 plus 5 plus 5. You need to have a look at these representations and have a think. Which one of these representations is showing you 5 and 5 and 5 and 5? Pause the video for some thinking time. Super. So let's have a look at this side first of all. So I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 groups here. So that means I've got 5 groups of 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. So I've got 5 equal groups of 4. So what that would look like is 4 and 4 and 4 and 4 and 4. But if we have a look on this side, we can see that there is 1, 2, 3, 4 groups of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So we can see that we've got 5 and 5 and 5 and 5. So it's this representation that's showing us that we've got 5 and 5 and 5 and 5. Lovely, because I've got the number 5 written 4 times to represent my 4 groups. 1, 2, 3, 4. I've got a drawing now, but my drawing is not finished. So I've got 3 plus 3 plus 3 plus 3. So let's have a look at the first 3 in my repeated addition. That's being represented by this ice cream cone that's got 1, 2, 3 scoops of ice cream on it. So that's being represented. And then I've got another 3 here in my repeated addition, being represented by my second ice cream cone with 3 groups. So what's missing then from my representation? Remember, my groups must be equal. So what do you think I need to draw to finish off this representation? Lovely, I need to draw myself another ice cream cone with 3 scoops on. So if I want to represent this group of 3, I would have 1, 2, 3, and then I could say that that one's done. I've not finished my repeated addition because my repeated addition shows me that I've got one more group here. So I would draw my final group with 3 ice cream scoops on it. Fantastic, well done. So now I've got a statement. There are 4 groups of 2. So remember, there are 4 groups of 2. So that means if I've got 4 groups, I must have 2 and 2 and 2 and 2. So which representation is showing me that there are 4 groups? Well, I can see over here that I've only got 1, 2 groups. But over here I've got 1, 2, 3, 4 groups. So this is showing me 4 groups. Inside each of these groups, do I have 2? Yes, I do. So I have got this one being represented there. I'm going to ask you to pause the video and have a look at these last 2. And then when you've had a go at them and you think you've got an answer for each representation, then we'll go through it together. Super. So let's have a look at this second one then. There are 3 groups of 6. So 3 groups. So let's have a look. 1 group, 2 groups, 3 groups. What have I got over here? 1 group, 2 groups, 3 groups, 4 groups, 5 groups, 6 groups. I've got far too many groups there. I only want 3 groups. So far it's looking like this one. And my groups are of 6. So that must mean that I've got 6 and 6 and 6. So this is the right one. Let's have a look at our final one then. This time I've got 4 plus 4 plus 4 plus 4 plus 4. So let's have a look. How many 4s do I have written? I've got 1 group of 4, 2 groups of 4, 3 groups of 4, 4 groups of 4, 5 groups of 4. Remember, I've got 5 groups, and inside each group I've got 4. So 5 groups of 4. That's this one over here. So here's another opportunity for you to pause the video and have a look at these representations that I've got and have a think. What is the same about all these representations? And what is different about them? And maybe it would be a good idea for you to write some of these down and send them through to your class email accounts for us to have a look at. Super. So you might have said something along the lines of, well, I can see that this is showing me 2 groups of 2, so 2 plus 2. And this is showing me 2 plus 2, which is another way of saying that there are 2 groups of 2. And over here, you might see that even though I've got 4 counters in total, I could split them into 2 groups of 2, 2 equal groups of 2. Fabulous. So now it's time for you to have a go by yourself. You can either pause the video on the slides that show the questions that you're doing, or if you go to the Byron Wood School website and the home learning section, you can find these sheets as a Word document to download as well. So I'll go through each of the sheets just to explain what you need to do. And then I'd like you to complete a minimum of 2 sheets, please. And I'd like to think very carefully about where you would like to start so that it is challenging enough for you. So this is the circle sheet. I've got a representation here showing me a number of groups. So you can see that I've got 1 group, 2 groups, 3 groups, and inside that group I have got 1 flower, 2 flowers, 3 flowers. So I've got 1 group of 3, 2 groups of 3, 3 groups of 3. So if I follow my success criteria, I might say that I've got 3 and 3 and 3. And we could write that as our bar model by writing 3 and 3 and 3. Or we could write that as a repeated addition by replacing our ands with addition symbols. So 3, add 3, add 3. So that's what you're doing, and the circle sheet goes here and onto the next slide as well. And the last question doesn't have any boxes. You need to write the correct number of add signs for your repeated addition. The semicircle sheet then, you have got a representation here. I can see that I have got 2 groups, 1, 2, and inside each group I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So I've got 2 groups of 5. So I could say that I've got 5 and 5. So which repeated addition shows me that I've got 5 and 5? And then you need to tick it, and then do the same for the rest of the questions on the semicircle sheet, which is continued here. The triangle sheet then, this time you've got to do some drawing yourself. So I have got here, there are 3 groups of 2, and I've already made a start here, but it's not finished. And then what I'd like you to do is I'd like you to also please write what that would be as a repeated addition. So I've got 3 groups of 2. So I've got 1 group of 2, 2 groups of 2. I need to draw my missing group, and then I would have 2 and 2 and 2. And then I need to also write that as a repeated addition, 2 plus 2 plus 2. And then the triangle sheet is also continued here. Don't forget to write your repeated addition somewhere on this sheet as well. And then we've got our square sheet. So for the square sheet, we've got a statement. There are 5 groups of 2. So remember, if I've got 5 groups of 2, so that would mean I've got 2 and 2 and 2 and 2 and 2. So we've got to think which representation, which repeated addition shows us that there are 5 groups of 2. And I just want you to think that we're learning about repeated addition today. So that means that the numbers in your addition are repeated. So if you get to something that looks like this, where you've got 5 plus 2, well, none of these numbers are being repeated, so it cannot be this one. Remember, there are 5 groups of 2, so that means I must have 2 5 times. So I've got 1 group of 2, 2 groups of 2, 3 groups of 2, 4 groups of 2, 5 groups of 2. So that would mean it's this representation. And you're going to do the same for the rest of the questions on square sheet, which are continued here as well. Super. And then the last sheet, if you would like to have a go at some reasoning, is a true or false question. So it says true or false, the picture shows 5 plus 5 plus 5 plus 5. And I'd like you to write down for me how you know. So you could write something like, I know this is true because, or I know this is false because, depending on what you think. But well done, everybody. We've done another home maths lesson today. You're doing really well. And we're really excited to see all the super work that you send into your class email accounts. So bye, everyone.